Hair Talk is a sacred space I created to allow conversations that would usually happen in my chair with clients or with professionals to reach your conscious awareness. The care and play of textured hair is my life's work. It's my contribution. I know India told us I am not my hair, but truthfully, I am. My story began with me having to hear the reflections of how challenging my hair was to manage as a child, that transformed into a love story in my adulthood. I have become that woman who cares for the hair of women who have hair like me. I care for my clients in private as I approach this deep work from connection to greater intimacy. I educate up-and-coming hairstylists to be advocates and caretakers in the multiverse of textured hair. I support hair care entrepreneurs through coaching to design the life and business that activates them and builds our community. Hair Talk is for you. It's for me. It's for us to discover, to shine light, to bring greater awareness to what we need and how we desire to be cared for. It's a standard. These conversations are the building blocks in the awareness and expansion of textured hair care. Let's do this work together. I am Shamilia B, your host for Hair Talk. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Hair Talk with Shamilia B. I am beyond excited to have this moment with you guys and just to share this sacred space. Honestly, it's been about 9 months since the last episode, but let me tell you guys what I've been up to. I have been educating, formal education in cosmetology, which essentially is what we call hair school, and I wanted to apply myself 100% to this process, so I kind of backtracked or shelved some things because I really wanted to get maximum. I wanted to be fully immersed in the experience, and as you guys know, hair is literally what I love to do. On top of that, I love textured hair. So textured hair is my thing, right? There are gaps that we spoke about or we touched on in season 1 when I had my friend on, Rebecca, with regard to education, especially for textured hair. Being a woman who was raised in the Caribbean, I understand the uniqueness of my curls. Now, I really wanted to add value to this space. So I dedicated myself to developing and delivering and shaping the lives and the career of future hairstylists, because I feel like once you hit a decade of doing anything, you're more than 10,000 hours in, and you have wisdom to give back, especially to persons who are just starting. And I have seen spaces where wisdom was not passed on and we would have lost it. And a big part of my life's work and a big part of my contribution is that I really want to keep the conversation moving forward. I really want to keep the information and the skills and move it forward. So essentially, I educated before, but this time I entered education in the US. So my intention for entering hair education was, like I told you guys, one, to develop students, to transfer, but also to observe, because There's a standard in hair care that I hold myself to, and I know there are other hairstylists, hair care experts, whichever lane in the hair industry, everybody has decided to go that there's a quality standard, and it's not necessarily a static standard, it's actually a spectrum, because what I decide for me in terms of what my quality is doesn't necessarily have to be what somebody else decided that their quality is. So particularly for me, I wanted to give luxury textured hair care. That was my first base. And then it went into, once the person understood how to care for their hair, then we went into hair play, which essentially is we're playing with color and we're playing with texture, which is what I based most of my services on. So there's the care aspect, and then that breaks down into altering texture or altering color. And it is of my firm belief that you have to know how to care for your hair first before you go to manipulate any of these textures. And I've heard, of course, that hairstylists or persons would have experienced going into the world of play, as I call it, or hairstylists taking them there without even informing them as to what the expectation or the care of that is. And so much of that came down to education, and I wanted to see on the institutional level where we were at. Now, guys, there are observations that I'm not gonna even lie. The first 30 days was essentially for me to understand the culture, to get a feel for the hours, because the days are long. It's 10-hour days, right? And it's 10-hour days constantly pouring and giving into students and back to back. Of course, you had your lunchtime, but just the toll that takes on you for back-to-back days is insane, right? However, it was something that is valuable in terms of it is something that I wanted to do. So there was a time that an employee would have to give, which to me, and based on my experience, I would say that could lead to burnout. Because to be honest, I am on my exit. And if you guys are aware or are not aware, just started the YouTube channel, and I actually began the documentation or the encapsulation of what it is going to be like for me for the next 2 weeks, because these are my last 2 weeks and I wanted to encapsulate the moment. So the vid blog is on YouTube. The handle is Shamilia B. You could say Shamilia B or Shamilia B Cares, and you will get access to that information. But I am approaching 8 months on September 15th, and it is safe to say that I have burnout. And I went from being somebody who wanted to give so much in the beginning and was so mindful and so intentional and just ready to pour into the students with dedication and expectation and all of that. And now I am on the back end where I am just so ready to stop. I have no desire to pour into anybody right now at this point. And it's safe to say my energy and my capacity is huge in terms of what I can do as a person, because I have worked in teams before. But let me just give you guys the scale of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, it's easy to say 100 students per phase or per day, but in totality the school is very much close to 200 students. And I'm talking about interaction, knowing names, answering questions, being aware of, just the entire, they're human, so they're family situations, who have kids, who have sisters, who live with their moms, like their small business goals, like their needs, their personalities, what they're good at. You guys know that, or if you don't, that my brain works as profiles. And I went from profiling my clients that I worked with one-on-one in a very itemized, detailed way, knowing specifics, having a reference point, to now having a mass of at least 60 students in my head at a time. And ever so often when we get new students, that increased by, safe to say, 8 to 10, right? So just having to update that profile, that inventory in my head of humans, and being the person that I am and wanting to connect and having real genuine connections with these students, I am exhausted emotionally, right? Let's add another layer of that, because I'm giving you all the information, is that just the sheer structure of leadership and the decision making and what the decision making is based on. In the beginning, it felt aligned, which is why I decided to embrace the opportunity. But now being this far out and understanding how this machine, and I have to say machine, how this machine works, there is no room for humanity in it. There is no room for someone to thrive in there, right? Just based on my standards. Again, this is my standards, right? So, like I said, on the exit, but I have to give you guys the visual of what I have observed, right? So that's that. Let's say 40% of the students, and I probably say the number is more, but I'm just not trying to stretch or overemphasize the number. So let's say 40 to 55% of the students are black or mixed with black. So that means that's textured hair, right? Then there is 10 to 15% that is Latin, Spanish, that type of diaspora, right? And statistically, less than 10% of the educational curriculum speaks to, informs, educates, trains textually. Now, let's look at the numbers industry-wise, right? About 40 to 60% of people who invest in hair is textured hair. And you're telling me that in the beginning stages of a hairstylist career, less than 10% of the hours allocated to teaching these students is dedicated to textured hair? This is why black women, and I could say this because this is why black women do not feel seen, do not feel loved, do not feel cared for. And I could say this and I could hold this opinion, and I believe that the opinions could change as you gain experience and exposure and information. But for right now, on this very day, it is safe for me to say that black women the care for black women here is substandard because the care has not been thought. I believe that conversations foster awareness, and awareness gives us the space to desire change, to desire to be transformed. A major part of that is understanding that being supported by somebody else who has been there before where you desire to go, who knows what you desire to know, or whose life's work is a reflection of what you desire to do is going to support you. Textured hair is my life's work. I have created a sacred space for learning, for transferring of the wisdom I have amassed over my career, for moving the goalpost one step forward. Textured Hair Education by Shamilia B is the home of skills, techniques, and knowledge dedicated to the care for the multiverse of textured hair. If you have a desire to learn and to take this step into deeper awareness and harness new skills, then Textured Hair Education is for you. The link is in the show notes. I had students literally asking me while in hair school how to care for their hair weeks into the program. We were already into the coloring phases. I'm talking about just the care. Remember the triangle I gave you guys? Care is at the top and then it splits into two and we go into hair play of texture and color. I'm talking about we are deep into the going into hair color, and the care for texture hair has not been there. I guess you guys can feel the passion coming, but I did try. I tried and I understood, and I will refer to it again as a machine, that moving the needle forward is not impossible, but based on the feedback, it's not as easy, which is what informed my decision to exit. Because my goal in this season of my career is to develop future stylists that can care for my hair, for my type of hair, for women with hair like me, for kids with hair like me, to train them while they're in high school. This is how to shampoo your hair at home, so you don't have scalp issues, so you don't have residue, so you're not over processing your hair chemically, so you're not buying products that are not nourishing your hair. That is my entire goal right now. I'm saddened, I'm hurt. I've been dealing with the emotions of this because I couldn't come and talk about it while I was so tender. But now that I have launched the product of being visible on the exit, I said, you know what? Let me just get into this conversation, deep dive into this, because this is valuable information. And just for everybody to have an understanding of where we're at as an industry. I've seen campaigns in the last 9 months with Texture for Change at Essence Festival, and people have been really trying to champion the education of textured hair, and then it's like institutionally it's not there. When I saw that campaign, to be very honest, I felt connected because I felt like they are moving the needle forward in that space in terms of getting state boards to pass the education on that level, make it a requirement. And I'm in a school setting in corporate America, advocating to, willing to, assisting to build the curriculum, to give my expertise to ensure that this could be distributed, developed, educated on scale. And it's safe to say that my efforts in that regard, it wasn't realized. It was not realized, and we're here now, and we're moving forward. So an ode to that experience and just to encapsulate this season, I decided to just encapsulate the moment and the essence and the vibe and the spirit of this time. Season 2 is dedicated to textured hair education in the different ways, in the schools, in the classes, in the availability and the access, and the conversations are going to be ongoing in that particular regard, because I am as much activated as I am disheartened. We understand that there can be duality of feelings, but I feel really I'm not necessarily sensitive about the topic, but just, you have such a desire, and just the visibility, and you just want not just representation, but you want somebody to know how to care for you. Because what if nothing? What is life if we are not cared for? I had to take 2 minutes to come down, because my desire for this season, like I said, is to take the conversation of hair talk into the direction of education, because I believe that if we can deliver the information to the future hairstylists, then in 2 to 3 years our industry is going to be revolutionized. And I'm just talking about hair industry. I'm talking about the care for black women, the know-how, the skills, the understanding of product. I'm talking about moisture absorption, understanding when it's best to moisturize your hair versus when it's best to seal your hair. Oils, moisturizers, no, they're lubricants. So they can't moisturize your hair, but they can make your hair easier to pull through, to maneuver through. You get the slippage that you need, but it's not moisture. And professionals have to have that type of language, have to have that type of understanding to be able to care for, manipulate, and get the best out of textured hair. It's just absolutely necessary. So, Hair Talk with Shamia B, Season 2 is going to talk about textured hair education. And I have some amazing guests lined up. And I'm working on getting some experts into the conversation, because this is something that is on my heart, and I really want us to get this correct. I want us to get this right. I want to see at scale what knowledge and skill for textured hair is going to do for women, for kids, the confidence, the know-how, the understanding, the reflection. Less horror stories and more glory stories. That is the goal for Season 2. So we're starting with the people who are behind the chair, and we're starting with the education that they get. I am Shamina B, your host and avid activist for textured hair, and I'm really excited about Season 2. And I want you guys to share this podcast with someone, anyone, because the conversation has to reach into the corridors and the kitchens and the ears of us, because we have to care for us, and we have to know that there are people in different places advocating and fighting and showing up and willing to put in the work and to contribute for the higher reflection of this space. I'm a textured hair educator. I'm a hairstylist coach, and I serve my textured hair clients in private, and I absolutely love it. And nothing brings me more joy than to help a woman discover her hair, and then to enter the realm of play and see all the things that it can do. The conversations continue. Look out for season 2 with guests.